I swear, I cannot get good lighting to save my soul. What is with this lighting? I mean, I've got lights on everywhere in this room. I've got a ring light, which has a pink filter over it, and it just, what? I don't know. All right. I don't know where to start. Well, for a number of days, actually more like weeks now, I've been having this problem with neighbors. I mean, I have got the weirdest freaking neighbors ever, and it has not always been like this. When I moved into my place, it'll be 13 years ago. I'm foaming at the mouth. I'm so weirded out. It'll be 13 years ago on Valentine's Day. I had the coolest neighbors. They were just a bunch of old Vietnam vet era, mountain man, scalawag drinkers, and they all had rough and tumble, heart of gold personalities, and I just loved these guys, and they had all moved up there at the same time, and I was moving in. I was like a Johnny-come-lately moving in when the first of them passed away, and it took me 10 years to be a local, but those guys were very cool. By the end of the third year, I was in the neighborhood. And the neighborhood is a 40-acre parcel with about 7 neighbors spread out in there. Anyhow, so these guys were really cool, but they started dying. We had, or being run off by my crazy neighbor that was behind me. She ran off a couple people over on her side. They were cool. Now there's a complete certifiable nutcase living there next to her. In a way, that's kind of cool because those two fight, and so she's not concentrating on me that much. That's awesome. But the anchor of the neighborhood, we used to call him Cattleman Jim, even though he wasn't a cattleman. He passed away, and then his estate was kind of up for grabs for a while. Well, it was purchased by this man. Okay. Remember the Tom Hanks movie, The Burbs? Remember that movie? And there were the freaky next door neighbors who drove around in that big, huge car that belched smoke, and they would never answer the door, and, they would dig big holes in their backyard, and the neighbors were convinced that these guys were, mass murderers or something, and in truth, they ended up being mass murderers. That's a spoiler alert, but it's an old movie, so you probably already know. Anyway, okay, I got that guy. I got that guy living across the street from me. He moves in. He won't talk to anybody. He won't wave. He gives you when you say hi to him. He has his entire place cambered up. Okay, he's got like 10, possibly 15 acres if he bought the piece in between his 2 acreages, which I think he must have, because a bunch of people just moved up there. It's a different story. But, so the whole place has cameras, and they're all pointing down at the road. You usually don't see him because he does everything at night, and like these big trucks will come in at night, and there'll be all this activity. 2:30 in the morning, you'll see him walking down his road with a flashlight, and he's flashing it around. Sometimes he'll come across the road, and he'll be standing at my fence flashing his flashlight. Now, I'm rarely there when any of this happens because I haven't been living at my place. I've been, down taking care of my mom, but I've been hearing the stories. So lately, he's taken to standing on his deck with a telescope and perving out, watching everybody. Now, I haven't been there, so I can't aim my own telescope back at him, which is exactly what I would do. But I'm hearing this from the other neighbors that he's really freaking them out. So he's just like an unknown factor that makes me nervous. Then this local, certifiably crazy vagrant has parked a truck that isn't even his, but he claims that it's his, on my property. Now, he refuses to move it. When we asked him, we cornered him, like, dude, you really need to get your truck off of my property. He threatened to kill us. He threatened to burn down the building. So we talked to the sheriffs, and the sheriffs are like, this guy's nuts. If you engage him, expect a problem. It's going to happen. And we're like, well, how come nobody's picked this guy up yet? Well, it's because he hasn't done anything wrong. He's made threats. He's actually was caught burglarizing the local hardware store, but the guy who owns the store refused to press charges. So they had to let him go. Well, he's taken to building fires in a fire ring around his truck. Now, you ask me, why don't I just call the cops, call a tow truck, report the thing abandoned, and let the chips fall where they may? You know, if I were living at my house and I had my kids and my man and my friends and we could camp out with our shotguns, I would do that. But there's nobody there to protect the place if he decides he's going to come back and retaliate. These are the kinds of problems I'm having. I mean, they're not just nutty, crazy people like the woman who lives beside me and likes to stand on the top of the hill and yell at us. Okay, that's annoying, but it's not life-threatening. She's been doing this for years. I know what her trip is. She's just nuts. And she isn't really a gun owner either, so I'm not quite as afraid of her as I am of this other yahoo. So there you go. I mean, it's like no matter where you live, you could guaranteed pick a direction, throw a rock, and you are going to hit some batshit crazy person that thinks they have the right to trespass on your property. I mean, it does not matter how big your property is. It doesn't matter where you live. Guaranteed you've got a nut in the neighborhood. Now, I am a good neighbor. I am a good neighbor. If my radio's too loud, man, I'll turn that down. You need something? No problem. I'm happy to lend it to you. You want somebody to watch your place because you're going out of town? Sure, no problem. I'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pry into your business. I don't care what you do on your property. You could take a shit on your front porch and that's your deal. No problem. But I get saddled with these, well, they're just neighbors from hell. They are horror shows is what they are. So I'm stressing big time about these neighbors, and most of it is fear because I haven't kicked the vagrant off yet, so he hasn't attempted to burn down my house or shoot my dogs. I haven't gotten, you know, my crazy neighbor up the hill telling me that I've got a junkyard and I have to move it. I mean, none of that stuff's happened yet, but I know it's going to. I can feel it. So, yeah, I'm really stressed. If any of you guys have crazy neighbors like this, I mean, somebody else that I've got a subscription to, she was talking about her crazy neighbor today. Tell me your crazy neighbor story. I'd really like to hear it because, you know, sometimes it helps to vent. And maybe we can figure out a way to get rid of these people. Because you know, when the sheriff tells you, hey, good luck, you're on your own, well, you know, you got a problem. So, share. Talk amongst yourselves and share.